So before you tonight, we have a public hearing for a rezone at the Campus Christian Center, which is at 822 Elm Street. So just to go over the proposal, we have an 18,000 square foot parcel, 822 Elm. The applicant's requesting to rezone it from the current multiple family residential R4 zone to the neighborhood business zoning district. You have the Campus Christian Center on the main floor, and then you have what was formerly Sisters Brew Coffee House on the bottom floor, which is currently part of the Campus Christian Center. So just to familiarize yourself with the property, it's in the center of your screen outlined in red. You can see the Campus Christian Center to the south of the property, and then you have a private parking lot there to the north, a series of sidewalks that transect the property. Elm Street's to the west, which heads north-south. You have University Avenue to the south, and then a private alley, or actually a public alley, excuse me, city-owned alley directly to the east that separates the Campus Christian Center property with an adjacent parking lot to the east. Surrounding properties include primarily fraternities and sororities, as well as university uses. So you have the admin lawn, kitty corner to the southwest of the property, and then various other institutional uses. So we have a church to the southeast over here. You've got some multiple family residential to the east. And then to the south, an item of note is the Perch, which is also in the neighborhood business zone with some apartments behind that. And that's a grocery store. So this is a Google Street View. This is looking at the intersection of Elm and University, looking northeast at the Campus Christian Center building. This would be the first floor, and you can see the basement below it. This is further on Elm Street. Looking to the southeast, you can see the series of sidewalks as well as the private parking lot there to the east of the property. So just to cover the comprehensive plan land use designation, currently designated as civic institutional, as well as the entirety of the surrounding area. As you can see, the campus core, as well as a lot of the private development with fraternities and sororities and multiple family residential properties within this area is all designated as civic institutional. So taking a look at that comp plan designation, within the 2009 comprehensive plan really gives no description of the intention of the civic institutional. You would think that it just is self-explanatory, but really any designation within the comp plan, we typically have some type of description with appropriate zoning to go along with that. The entirety of the campus, including private properties, are also designated as civic institutional. Really no direction on appropriate zoning designations within that CI. And then throughout the city, anytime you have an institutional or civic use, such as a school or a church building, 1912 Center, those would all be designated as civic institutional. So it really encompasses a lot of zoning districts. So regardless of where these specific properties are located, and regardless of the surrounding land use designation, whether it be residential or commercial, they're always designated as civic institutional. So that's something we're going to probably look at clarifying as the Planning and Zoning Commission currently moves through the update to the 2009 comp plan is just look at clarifying the civic institutional designation within the comp plan update to provide a little bit more direction on that. Looking at the zoning configuration of the area, currently zoned R4, which is multiple family residential, as well as a lot of the surrounding fraternities and sororities within this area. The green represents the university zoning district, so you have the admin lawn to the southwest, as well as some other university buildings, as well as some parking lots here to the east, northeast. And then further to the south, across the university, the Perch property is currently designated as neighborhood business. And this would be the proposal to rezone the property to neighborhood business. It would be really grouped within the Perch property to the south. We usually zone to the middle of the street for zoning districts. So taking a look at neighborhood business zone, what the zoning code dictates is typically the lowest intensity commercial zoning district in the city, intended to apply to areas less than 2 acres in size. usually surrounded by residential neighborhoods, and it serves as more allowance of commercial services to these residential neighborhoods. And the commercial services permitted are those where traffic generation, access requirements, impacts of lighting, neighborhood need for services, and noise production will be compatible with residential uses. And then it gives us some appropriate circumstances where to apply the neighborhood business zone, where local commercial facilities will serve the everyday needs of a limited neighborhood area, where activity levels associated with small-scale office development can be accommodated or tolerated by surrounding land uses and existing public services, where a neighborhood core is identified, and it's easily accessible by pedestrian or vehicular circulation, and where such commercial development will result in minimal interference with the surrounding residential area. And just an example of the uses that are allowed within the neighborhood business zone. You have a wide variety of residential uses, retail sales, personal services, restaurants, professional offices. Do allow some daycare facilities, churches, and community and neighborhood centers. Taking a look at the utilities and the streets in the area, currently has existing water and sewer of adequate capacity to handle any future development of that property. And then Elm and University are both currently designated as local streets, and they're currently developed, paved with curb, gutter, tree lawn, sidewalks on both sides. Elm has on-street parking on both sides of the street, but University only has parking on one side, and that's the south side of the street. And the on-street parking is currently regulated by the Parking and Transportation Office at the University of Idaho. The applicant did conduct a neighborhood meeting, and all those neighborhood meeting materials are attached to your packet tonight. Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing, and they recommended approval unanimously to City Council, and that happened on May 24th of this year. Staff's recommendation is to approve the proposed zoning ordinance under suspension of the rules and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reasoned statement of relevant criteria and standards. And I'd certainly be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Mike? Jim.
Mike, this change in zoning here has no effect on the 300-foot requirement for alcohol sales between a religious institution and say the Perch. You know, in the past they're within 300 feet of the Christian Center and the LDS Institute. Changing the zoning doesn't affect that at all, does it?
It doesn't. It's all dependent upon the use. So,
yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions for Mike before I open the public hearing? Thank you, Mike. I will open the public hearing. So I will take testimony for those that are in favor. I will take testimony, general testimony or opposed.
Mayor, someone want.
Well, come on up and speak, identify who you are, sir, your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ben Camp. I'm at 116 North Polk, Moscow. I would speak in support of this proposal. I'd add that I'm also on the board of the Campus Christian Center and be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. You're making this too easy on us here. Anybody else want to testify on behalf of this? Okay, well, I will go ahead and close the public hearing then and turn it over to council. John.
Well, since we don't have any real comments from anybody, I would move that we make the proposed rezone, and we do it under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 separate readings, and that we also. Now, do we do the reason statement at the same time?
We have to adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement in with your motion, John. You can put that
in the same motion?
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and then I would also add to that motion that we use the prepared reason statement of relevant criteria that was prepared by Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by John and a second by Jim to approve the proposed zoning ordinance and the suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings. And
Just a
that,
clarification on that motion, were you also asking that waive the first, or the reading, or the required to read it by title and published by?
Oh, okay, I forgot that part. Excuse me. Would you put that?
okay, and I'll reread it because I was going to include that in. So now that Rod has corrected us, John's motion said to approve the zoning ordinance and the suspension of rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings and it be read by title and published by summary, and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reasoned statement of relevant criteria. Did we get that? Jim seconded that. Do you have that? I'll start to roll with Walt.
Mr. Mayor, a point, if I may, before we vote.
Okay.
I would note that in our packet, there's a copy of the minutes of the neighborhood meeting that was held. There were no comments in opposition, quite a few comments in favor of this, such as making grab-and-go food available on that side of campus. The uses at the building wouldn't change the exterior of it. They already have private parking, so that meeting also was in favor of it.
Okay. Let's start to roll with you, Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay. So that proposed ordinance is approved, and I got to find it here somewhere to read. What number is it? 6. Okay. Ordinance number 2017-06, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the State of Idaho, providing for the zoning of an approximately 31,908 square feet of property described in Section 1 of this ordinance as neighborhood business, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.